A few years after turning 39, Adam Harrison, the eldest son of Pawn Stars founder and star Rick Harrison, passed away unexpectedly due to an overdose. The concept of Pawn Stars, the iconic television show, was the brainchild of Rick Harrison. In an interview with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Laura Lavich, Harrison's representative, confirmed both the cause of death and the discovery of Adam's body on Friday. The news was first reported by Timmons, making it public before the Harrison family learned of Adam's passing that fateful Friday. TMZ was the first media outlet to report this heartbreaking information, leaving many unanswered questions about the circumstances surrounding Adam's death, particularly the time and location of the overdose. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department launched an investigation into his death after being contacted by Timmons, focusing on unraveling the mysterious circumstances surrounding his tragic end. Going deeper into the background of Adam Harrison, born in 1984, he was one of Rick Harrison's 3 children, being the eldest of them. Technically, he was Rick's second child from his first marriage to Kim, which ended in 1985, just 3 years after their union. Adam worked at the family-owned pawn shop in the years leading up to the premiere of the first episode of Pawn Stars in 1989. The show was inspired by the gold and silver pawn shop, owned by Richard Old Man Harrison at the time. Despite the family's fame due to the success of Pawn Stars, Adam had little interest in the spotlight and decided to live a private life. This decision was reflected in his sporadic use of an Instagram account, in stark contrast to Rick Harrison's frequent updates featuring his other 2 sons, Corey and Jake, who make up the renowned Harrison family. In the context of Pawn Stars, Adam's presence was noticeably absent, emphasizing his commitment to living a quiet life away from the spotlight. While the show, which premiered in 2009, primarily revolves around the family-owned pawn shop and its antiques and antiques business, Adam chose not to actively participate in the narrative, prioritizing his own peace over other considerations. Rick Harrison posted a tribute to Adam on his Instagram saying, "You will always be in my heart. I love you, Adam." A couple of fans and celebrities left supportive comments on her post, including Donald Trump Jr., who began, "I'm so sorry, man," and his brother Corey also posted a sweet message on Instagram with a photo of the 2 of them together in the bathtub when they were kids. Photo saying, "I will always love you, Bubba." Rick Harrison posted an emotional message that said, "Our family is extremely saddened by Adam's death. We ask for privacy as we mourn your loss. This is the only information we have regarding the tragic death of Adam Harrison. Rest in peace." If you want more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
You never went to college, did you?
Nope.
All this talk about free college, and you can't make it unless you went to college. How far in high school did you go?
Finished the 9th grade.
9th grade?
Yeah.
Then what happened?
Little bit of job here. I started buying and selling stuff. Basically educated myself. And then I'd always been buying and selling stuff. My dad had a little coin shop, and I wanted a pawn shop. So I went down to City Hall, and they told me, "No, you can't get a pawn shop."
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas. And I asked them why, and they pulled out the city code. And apparently what happened in 1955, the good old boys got together, and they passed a city ordinance that when the city population got to 250,000, they would issue 1 more pawn license. When they made this law, there's only 25,000 people living in Vegas. They thought it was never going to happen. So I'm 22 years old, and pawn license, if someone has one for sale, back then it was 500,000, 700,000, something like that. And I definitely couldn't afford that. So once I read this law, I'm going, it's got to be close to that now for the city proper there. So I started calling the city statistician once a week. And then in April of '88, he said, "Yeah, we think it's 250,000. So, I'm no longer a naive 22-year-old. I'm a naive 23-year-old. I go down to city business license. It's 250,000. I want my license. They didn't give it to me, but 6 months later, a judge said he was the first one there, give him the license.
You had to go to court to get a license to open a store.
Yes. The rest is sort of history.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the history. So you finished the 9th grade.
Yeah.
And you're self-educated.
Yeah.
You read.
Yeah.
What did you read?
It'll go back to when I was a kid. I was a really sick kid. I developed epilepsy when I was 8 years old, and I'd have violent seizures, and I would literally I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't walk. Sometimes I couldn't walk for a week or two. And my mom went to the library. I mean, we were lower middle income. My dad was in the Navy. He was in Vietnam. My mom's trying to sell real estate on the side. We didn't have a lot of money.
And you were in San Diego back then.
Yeah, San Diego. And, you know, this is 1973. There was no cable. There's no kids programming on television. And we definitely didn't have the money for more than one TV in the house. So my mom went and got me a set of books that was sort of kismet. This really, like, changed my life. She went to the library, and it was John D. Fitzgerald's The Great Brain. It was about an 8-year-old kid growing up in Utah in the 1890s, coming up with all these little schemes to make money. And I just devoured the books. I think there was like 8 books in the series. I read them in a week or two. And I just fell in love with reading ever since then. I mean, I was 12 years old. I was going to the library and checking out books on physics.
So you're self-educated mostly through books that you've read on your own.
Yeah.
And so when we watch you on your show, Pawn Stars, and you see things come in, and you know a little bit of the background, the stuff that you've read in the past kind of clicks in.
Yeah, it's because I don't really get into fiction. It's always been science books. It's been history books. I mean, like one of the jokes I tell is I read the history of batteries twice. I found it so fascinating. And to this day, I still read things like that. And it's, once you develop a really diverse,
History means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for the Pawn Stars, the history of an item can help determine its worth, its legacy, and so on. And when it comes to the customers who've brought in some of their more unique items to buy, the histories behind some of them are a bit odd and at times even shocking, from happening upon them by dumb luck to inheriting them and so on. The Pawn Stars have heard it all. And now, I'm going to tell you some of them. But before I do that, go ahead, do me a favor, leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Number 9, OJ's white Bronco. Yes, it's true, the Pawn Stars had the chance to get their hands on the infamous white Bronco that OJ Simpson used to flee the cops in the legendary chase that happened after he took the life of his wife. The car chase was a part of a legendary day across America for all sorts of reasons. But the camera and news footage of the chase is what sticks out in everyone's mind, and it's still a key moment in American history in many ways. Yet there are some aspects of that day that people misremember. Key among them was that the car actually wasn't OJ's. It was his friend's, and he used it to try and get away before being found, and thus began the low-speed chase with cops in tow. As for what happened to the car, after the trial, it eventually ended up in the hands of the former agent to OJ, who then offered it to the Pawn Stars. The problem was that he felt the car was so valuable that he wanted $1.3 million for it. You might think that despite this price, Rick would want to jump on it because of its history, but due to the controversy of the car, he knew there was a risk. Were there buyers for this car? Yeah, more than likely, but due to the infamous nature of the car and what it represented, that market honestly would have been pretty small. Because of that and other factors, Rick passed on the car, but it must have been a shock to be so close to that infamous vehicle. Number 8, Super Mario statue. Super Mario Bros. Is probably the most well-known and well-loved video game in history. The first Mario Bros. Nintendo game was released in 1983, with Super Mario Bros. Coming out 2 years later. More than 30 years later, over 40 million copies of the game have been sold worldwide. The Mario franchise has expanded to include several other games, a TV show, and tons of Mario merch. The giant Mario statue was originally housed in a video arcade and given to the seller as a prize for winning a Mario Kart competition. Considering it's probably worth anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200, the seller got a pretty good deal, signing off at $550 for this piece. There's a couple of side stories here that need to be noted. One, the Super Mario statue was not small. It had to be lugged into the shop. What's more, Chumlee had to be told by the guard to not accept the first offer from the customer, because when he tried to highball the statue, the guard noted that the statue wasn't in the best of shape, and indeed you can see all sorts of scratches and dings on it, so thus it wasn't mint condition. Just as hilarious though is the reason behind the sale. Apparently the guy's girlfriend didn't like it, so he sold it to please her. The things we do for love. Number 6, signed Star Wars poster from original cast. Rick once was in London observing what might just be one of the greatest collections of Star Wars items outside of Skywalker Ranch, which is owned by George Lucas, for the record. A man was making an archive of sorts of Star Wars items and had gotten his hands on some absolute treasures.
We're talking things like a poster for the original Star Wars film that was not only signed by George Lucas, but the entire main cast, including the late Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing, which means this was a one-of-a-kind item that cannot be replicated due to many of the original actors now being gone.